is the latest film written and directed this time by Aaron Sorkin, starring Jessica Chastain as Molly Bloom, who is a former Olympic skier who, after a major accident that pretty much declared that she would never ski again, she has to now find a new way of living life, a new way of making income. And while she's trying to get out there, she learns that she can make a lot of money by putting on these high-risk gambling games, so she starts doing that, and that kind of leads down a little dark, dangerous path that leads into her writing her own bestseller, and it also leads to her own trial later on in the future. And this movie is edited so that you see the story of what actually happened, what she described in her book, but they also will cut back to her meetings with her lawyer played by Idris Elba. I was very excited to see this film because I'm a big fan of Aaron Sorkin as a writer. Like 2 years ago, Steve Jobs, I gave like an A+ and put it on my best list. Like I recently just started watching The West Wing, very great show. And since this is his first time directing a film, because he got someone else to direct Moneyball, I'm not sure who, but I know Danny Boyle did Steve Jobs and David Fincher did The Social Network, I was very interested to see what he could do to direct his own film. Is he going to be just as talented as a director as he is a screenwriter? And unfortunately, the directing isn't the standout of this film. Like, you're not going to walk out of this film thinking of the excellent direction or anything. But that's not really a bad thing, because the major standout should be the performances and the screenplay. Aaron Sorkin knows how to write a very engaging yet entertaining at the same time screenplay, because there's a lot of information to dive into with this film. It's a very strange real-life story that is true, and he is adapting it from Molly Bloom's actual book. And Aaron Sorkin really knows how to take certain information and kind of dumb it down in a sense. Not in like spell everything out for you kind of way, but in a language where you get it as soon as you see it, in a fast-paced delivery from the actors. Like, for example, there are a few moments in the movie where they have to explain certain things going on in the poker game, and unless you played poker a lot, you aren't going to understand a lot of the lingo that they say during it, like Jessica Chastain actually points out in the beginning of the film. So in the screenplay, whenever they have to explain certain things in the poker game, there's a neat visual and dialogue explaining certain things going on, and you get it right away. Like me, I don't know a thing about poker, but when I was watching this movie and when they're explaining it and they had the visual up, I was like, okay, I get what you're trying to say, and this makes sense with me. It clicks. And that's something that makes me a huge fan of what Aaron Sorkin does as a writer, is that he knows how to connect with the audience with the information that he has to deliver. And the movie itself, it's 2 hours and 20 minutes. In the hands of another director or a screenwriter, this movie actually could have been maybe longer, like it could have like really dulled down everything. But because of the Aaron Sorkin touch in the screenplay, it is a very entertaining film as well as an engaging one. It's a film that you can learn a lot from, because I didn't know anything about Molly Bloom. All I knew is that she ran poker games or something, and then I watched this movie and I learned a lot from it. A lot of that coming from the screenplay, but also coming from the performances. Jessica Chastain, this is one of my favorite performances from her. She is excellent in this film as Molly Bloom. And this is a role that requires a lot of narration, and it doesn't come across as distracting or out of place or just spelling everything out for the audience. It actually comes across as actual inner thoughts that a person would have. The way it's executed in the film, it just felt natural to have. Jessica Chastain also pulls that off very well. And Molly Bloom is a person that really requires a lot of dedication, and you can tell that Jessica Chastain really dedicated her time to perfect the performance here. And that's something I really admire about Jessica Chastain just in general, is that I've seen a lot of her films. I haven't seen all of them, but I've seen a lot. She has never, in my eyes, delivered a bad performance, but in this film, she really did impress me with how far she went to play this character. She's an actress who hasn't done anything bad, but at the same time, she keeps getting better and better with a lot of different roles. That's something I really appreciate. Idris Elba also did a fantastic job playing her lawyer. There's one scene in particular where he has to do a lot of shouting, and that could have come across as just like an Oscar bait kind of moment. Like, all right, here's your big speech. They're going to play it when your Best Supporting Actor nomination comes up or anything like that. But it goes on for a very, very long time, and it doesn't really come across as like showy, like, hey, look at me, I'm a big actor. It came across as genuine, like this is what the actual character that he's playing is feeling, and it's coming from real emotions, and Idris Elba, like, freaking nailed that scene. Like, he owned the room. Once you see it, like, you will be blown away just as much as me, I promise you that. And these two actors have really good chemistry with each other. There are moments of bickery between them, but there is a true camaraderie with them. Idris Elba is trying to poke at her, trying to find out what makes Molly Molly in that sense, and that was also really cool to see just how that they played off each other in that sense, because Molly doesn't want to give too much away, but she still has to work with the lawyer to get her out of some serious legal trouble. And it's just these two performances that really do elevate a lot of these scenes, because they could have, like I said earlier, they could have come across boring if not portrayed right or written incorrectly or anything like that, but because of the screenplay, because of the actors' delivery of this dialogue just from them, it works very well. And Michael Cera shows up in this film. He plays a character named Player X, who is inspired by a real-life actor who is playing a lot of Molly Bloom's games. There's a few actors in this film that show up playing supposed, like, real people. They don't really give away any names, or true names, but Michael Cera plays Player X, who I've heard is inspired by Tobey Maguire. I'm not sure if that's true, because I didn't read Molly Bloom's book, but I did hear a while back that his character was sort of inspired by Tobey Maguire, and there are some moments where, like, his voice maybe kind of sounds like it, but there's no real definitive way of telling. Other than that, though, he's excellent in this movie. He's not in it the whole time, but when he shows up, he's really good. I could praise this film forever for its great acting and its great writing and its very engaging story, and this movie really had me hooked. I was thinking, like, man, am I gonna have to update my best list, because this is looking like another A+, and as the film was chugging along, that 2 hour and 20 minute runtime was actually breezing by. It's very fast-paced in the best way possible. And then there's a scene that comes along near the end of the film. It's not too long, it's nothing like huge that like ruins the rest of the film or anything, but it's just a scene that kind of sticks out like a sore thumb to me, and it involves the actor Kevin Costner, and he was pretty good in the film earlier on. There are a few scenes that kind of show why Molly is Molly, because he plays her dad, and you see how he kind of affected her life, and that was very cool to see. And when I saw him, I didn't even know he was in the movie. I was like, oh yeah, Kevin Costner, that's awesome. And then there's the scene that comes along, and I don't want to give too much away about it in case you don't know, but it involves just exploring Molly as a character, and the way they executed it, the way it was written, it just didn't really fit in with the rest of the film. That was the one part that felt like, we're just gonna lay everything out for you right here and now. And in that sense, it just felt like they were explaining stuff that could have easily been done like through some subtle dialogue instead of just laying it out like that. But other than that one scene, though, it's not too long. It's like maybe 3 minutes. Other than that one scene, it's followed up by another excellent scene between Idris Elba and Jessica Chastain anyways, and the movie just goes on from there. I had a really great time with this movie. It is so engaging. It's so fascinating hearing about this true life story. Jessica Chastain is excellent. I really hope she gets a Best Actress nom at the Oscars, because she really does deserve it. Idris Elba was also fantastic here. I was very surprised by Michael Cera. And Aaron Sorkin, though this isn't like a film for directors. The directing here is very good, but it's nothing like, wow, this is amazing. I think Aaron Sorkin really has some room to grow in that area, because he didn't do a bad job here at all. So I actually can't wait to see the next film that he's directing, whatever it may be, because I'd really love to see how he tackles that film as far as the writing and also the direction. I'm gonna give Molly's Game an A. If it wasn't for that one scene that just kind of stuck out in a bad way for me, I had a really fun time with this film. You'll enjoy yourself, you'll probably laugh at a couple moments, you'll enjoy the performances, you'll enjoy the dialogue, and you'll probably learn something too in case you didn't know that much about Molly Bloom to begin with like me. But if you've seen Molly's Game already, leave in the comments below what you thought of it, and as always, thank you guys for watching. Make sure to subscribe. I'm Jackson Fulcher. See you guys next time.